So good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm on, right? A bit closer. Can you all hear me now? Perfectly? Okay, great. My name is 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕, as you've heard, and working for the Innovation Media Futures East Africa project. And I think I will not take a lot of time, just go straight into the research that we did, which was focusing on the state of innovation and media viability in East Africa. And allow me to say that we carried out the research with our main partner, Aga Khan University, who are also represented here, and you'll get a chance later. And what we were looking at was, as you see, innovation and media viability. And just to define what we were thinking of when we were thinking of viability, we were not just thinking about the money, but also thinking about the quality of journalism that is happening in East Africa. Like, is there quality journalism happening? And is there the finances to sustain it? And the important thing also about innovation is that when we have such a rapidly changing media landscape as ours, it's important to have people innovating, to have media houses innovating, which is why we decided to also focus on innovation. And what was our key question? We were looking at which are factors within organizations uh, in media houses. What are the important things that could lead to innovation, that could lead to viability? So we looked at some of the areas there, like newsroom structure, what is the ownership like, what are the business models being used, what is the financial performance, and so on, all those factors there. And so then how we did it is that we fielded a survey. And I'm sure some of you, if you're journalists in the room, if you're media managers in the room, we probably got information from you, because we had from almost 500 media houses across East Africa, and specifically from Tanzania, both mainland and Zanzibar, we had from almost 200 media houses. That is 170 if you look at the figure on the right. And we collected the data just when COVID started, and we took 6 months per country in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So I'll just present the findings in the key areas: in financial sustainability, in quality journalism, and in innovation. Of course, I'll just give a highlight, because what we have is a report of 70 pages. I can't present 70 pages today. So I'll just give you the important things that we found out. One of the things that we found for financial sustainability was that in East Africa, we have pretty young media houses. Apart from print, which has media houses that are 11 years old and older, all the other media houses, over half of all the other media houses, TV, radio, digital, multimedia, are all 10 years old and younger, which, if you think about it, is not a very long time. And what this tells us is that there are young, innovative, hopefully innovative media houses. And we were thinking that we would find quite a number of business models in the market, because these media houses are so young. But what we found is that despite this, there's still quite a traditional business model happening in East Africa. And we found that when it comes to revenue sources, there is still a reliance on, as you probably guessed it, commercial advertising. Whether it's a young media house, whether it's an old media house, most media houses, almost 90%, as you can see from that figure, almost 90% have commercial advertising as their key source of funding. I'd also like to take your attention to the small red, the 22.2%. Those are subscriptions. And then there is the 19.3%, which is government funding. So as you can see, subscriptions and government funds are quite small. What did this, or why is this interesting for us? When we did our analysis, what we found that it is actually only subscription revenue and direct government funding which helped media houses to survive COVID-19 better. So it was not advertising, it was not all the other sources of revenue, but just those two small figures we've seen, the 22% and the 19%. That is what helped media houses survive COVID-19. So very few media houses are thinking about these two sources, and yet they seem to be important when it comes to weathering crisis. So the other thing we found is that digital news media organizations are also quite reliant on commercial advertising, and many of them use up to more than five revenue sources. And what we found also about revenue sources, specifically for digital media organizations, the ones which started as digital media houses, is that for such media houses, the more revenue sources, sometimes the less the financial performance. In other words, if you're using one revenue source, two, three, maybe up to four, the financial performance was going up. The moment you got to five, six, seven, financial performance started going down. Simply talking about the fact that sometimes as a media manager in this new small media organization, you may be focusing so much on going out to look for the money that you forget the core business and you end up losing money while you think that you're actually going to make money. So that we found very interesting, that more is not necessarily better. Find the few you're good at and focus on them. So then I'll take us to the journalism quality highlights. What we found is that journalistic practices, things like newsroom management, fact checking, all those were ranked very highly by all media houses in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Journalist pay was also ranked relatively high because this was a scale of 1 to 5, and you can see journalist pay in East Africa, the average was 3.64. So the average from media houses said that, okay, we feel that the journalist pay is not too bad. Editorial independence as well was also ranked pretty highly. And when it comes to editorial independence, one interesting thing was that if you look at the figures for Tanzania, okay, first of all, intimidation and interference are still very much alive in the region. We cannot say that we have full editorial independence. So if you look at those figures for 2019, all the countries, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, said the experiences are journalists being arrested, journalists being attacked, being verbally abused, having to kill stories, having to publish stories because of advertisers. But if you look at the numbers for Tanzania, they are quite low compared to the numbers for Uganda and Tanzania. So for Uganda and Kenya. So for Tanzania, we have 12, 29%, 13, and so on. While for Uganda, it is more of numbers in the 50%, 70%, 40%. So then our question was, what is it about Tanzania that makes such incidences so low? Is it that there is less reporting? Is it that there is self-censorship? People did not want to say that they had actually been attacked? Or is there something that Tanzanian media are doing right or differently which reduces such attacks? So this is an open question that we would like to hear more from you about. So, and then the main issues that were mentioned, particularly in Tanzania, we also asked what are the issues that are preventing you from having quality journalism. So for Tanzania, really the biggest things that you mentioned were lack of equipment. If you look at all the data that we found, lack of equipment is what came top for TV, radio, digital. Only newspaper did not mention lack of equipment, or it came quite low. Then the next thing was skills, and the next thing was funding to the newsroom. So those are the issues that were most mentioned by Tanzania, and this is from the open-ended responses. And then when it comes to innovation, we looked at what are the capacities in media houses, what skills do media houses have, what is their ability to innovate. So the most needed capacities that we found were mentioned in East Africa were marketing skills came number one, advertising skills was number two, and then technical skills and current knowledge such as using technology, changing over technologically came number three. So better journalism and reporting skills did not come anywhere in the top three. It came now number four, and this was mentioned by only 12%. So this is also something that we have to keep in mind, that yes, good journalism is important, but it seems marketing is more important, or advertising is more important for media houses right now. These are the things that media houses are juggling with at the moment. And then in terms of particular skills that Tanzanians needed, there are several capacities that were mentioned again by Tanzanian media houses, and audience research was one thing that was mentioned by both print and radio. And then there is knowledge and skills in selling digital advertising, working on developing of new revenue sources, and yeah, as far as new revenue sources is concerned, this is something that came up over and over and over again. We just talked about the fact that media houses were dependent on commercial advertising. So maybe it's not a matter of not being interested in finding new sources. Maybe it's a matter of the skills in figuring out how do we develop new revenue sources. So in view of the above, the question is, what are the urgent capacities to build in Tanzania when it comes to skills as far as media viability is concerned? So that's the open question I'd like us to reflect about. What is urgent to build? You as a media house, you as a media manager, what do you think is most urgent for your media house in view of this? Audience research, selling adverts, developing new revenue sources, marketing, education, and training. And in that relation, we've come up with a tool as well as the Media Futures Project. And this tool is to help media houses think more about their innovation. Exactly how are you innovating? Are you innovating enough? Are there questions that you need to ask yourself? So then the tool is going to help you with that. So there's a self-assessment section, which is great, where you have some questions that you answer. And once you answer, then you get a score telling you what your innovation rating is as a media house and what you might need to do if you're not so innovative. If you're number 1 out of 10, then maybe there are things that you need to improve about. So I think I will end there. The tool is available on our website and you're very welcome to try it out. We'll share the QR code later on the screen. Thank you so much for your time.
Hayo ni makofi ya kichoyo. Another round of applause to Dr. 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕. Like you mean it this time. Wonderful. How many of us learned something new? Put your hand. Nice. All right. So how many of you have showered in the morning? People are a bit shocked. This is a hand up. This one here I don't understand. Germany Africans. It's this one. How many of us got something new? There we go. Nice. There we go. A hand of applause to the researchers as well as Dr. Kimani once more. A lot of times we think that we know, but when you get the data, it's when you can reassess and kind of reevaluate in a way that you can now look at how you can leverage opportunities. And so I'm just going to quickly mention that this session has been put together by a consortium of partners. We have DW Academy, a hand of applause to them, Aga Khan University, North Africa, Jamii Forums, as well as TUZO, and we'll be hearing from each partner today. Now, to take us on and invite our keynote speaker today, I'd like to invite the Dean of AKU Graduate School of Media and Communications. This is none other than Dr. Nancy Booker. Makofi kwake tafadhali, a hand of applause to Dr. Nancy Booker. For those things that stood out to you, remember to put them online and make sure that people who are not here can also engage in the conversation. Karibu sana.
Jambo. Good morning. I thought my greeting in Swahili would attract a lot more interest, but clearly it didn't happen. My name is Nancy Booker, and it is a pleasure to be here, but most importantly to introduce a keynote speaker, somebody who's very well known to me. In fact, when I was asked to invite him to speak, I got very excited about that. And I guess he will tell you why. I will save you that part of the introduction. So quite some interesting findings coming out of the study. And I think there is something for us to learn or to interrogate a lot further about the context that Bakari will be speaking to us about. Bakari Machumu is a media management and strategy expert with 25 years experience in the profession. He's a CEO of Mwananchi Communications Limited and oversees the business focusing on attaining stability and sustaining it by adopting a bouquet of business models aimed at innovative ways of diversifying revenue streams in response to the digital disruptions that we are all grappling with. Before transiting to business leadership in July 2020, he oversaw editorial production of Tanzania's 3 top newspapers, Mwananchi, Mwanaspoti, and Mwanaspoti Tanzania, Mwanaspoti Kenya, and The Citizen, steering Mwananchi Communications Limited to a home of digital revolution, becoming the first ever converged digital newsroom in Tanzania's history. And because I'm the dean at the Graduate School of Media and Communications, I would also need to add that Bakari is one of our recent graduates from the Executive Masters in Media Leadership and Innovation at the Graduate School of Media and Communications. Bakari, karibu sana.
Good morning. Not always you get to be introduced by the dean, and not just the dean, but your supervisor. Yeah, your supervisor. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you, Professor Buka, for the introduction. Let me begin also by thanking the organizers of this event today for inviting me to speak and share my experience on what has been talked about by Dr. Rose Mani. Since I graduated in March, I think I've learned to appreciate more researchers and the role they play in our in our life in terms of trying to find practical solutions to a problem. Hakuna blah blah. So I'll skip that part in done. And also I should thank Dr. Rose for helping me on what do I need to talk about. She guided me with a list of questions, about 10. Going to try and run quickly through them in the 15 minutes I've been given, but that's what pretty much I'll be trying to look into, giving my perspective on the findings and see what can we do, especially in Tanzania, but also broadly looking at what are the tangible next steps which media houses need to do to remain viable. And should we do it at all? Or to surrender to systemic. So quickly, the first question was on print media being hit hard by financially, especially after COVID. So is there still a place for print media? My view is yes. And the statistics looking at other print-related products, I was reading from Web-Structured report of January 20th, 2023. And they say in the US, copy sales for printed copies of many books went up in 2021 and 2022. And some of the areas which are growing very fast is adult non-fiction books, fiction books for the youth, and most importantly, the young adult, there is a growth of about 47%. We are talking about the millennials. Now, we have expected that they will be more comfortable to run into online books, but they are developing that interest in that space. But what differentiates that, I think, is the content that is given out. So yes, print will continue to be important, and it's not the medium that is important. I think it's the content that comes through that part. And in Tanzania, for the case of Tanzania, when you look at print, we are at the lower end of preference in terms of people accessing information. But we are significantly important when it comes to setting agenda. If print died today in Tanzania, I can bet most radio stations, most online platforms will struggle to develop content, create their own content. Some of them might even die. So print has been very, very instrumental in Tanzania in terms of setting the pace, in terms of setting agenda, but driving conversation. And there are still those who are looking to always have their paper, a cup of tea. And what is the challenge to us is to continue making that content more relevant. And when you talk about its impact to media organization, I will talk about the case of Mwananchi Communication. We started digital transformation about 5 years. Sometimes I get scared when we are praised that we are doing very well. But when I look at the contribution of digital to our total revenue annual turnover, it is below 5%. We're still relying very much on print in terms of circulation and advertising, accounting for about 85–90% of our. So it is still important for us to continue milking that cow with our mind focusing on how do we use that revenue, that resource, now to create a sustainable future, which is for us. So the question was also now, how can print pivot to manage new realities of audiences and shrinking advertising revenue, if at all? And I think one of the concepts I came to fall in love with is called the three-box solution. When I was taking my studies at the Because while Tanzania is sleeping, the other part of the world is awake. So you need to feed into that. So those kind of appreciating that concept now make you unlearn and learn new things which will take you there. So I will leave that concept there before I turn myself into a lecturer, which I have not qualified yet. The second question was on shrinking of advertising. Okay. Is this still sustainable for us to continue focusing on commercial advertising as a primary source? Should we look for alternative ways? Yeah, I think learning from the tech giants, the way they personalize information, that will go a long way in helping us also change the way we do things in our organization. And the challenge also is we are seeing more and more organizations now setting up their own platform. A bank has their own social media and they put out their content. So they don't rely that much to media organizations. But the challenge, of course, is there will always be bias. But that presents an opportunity that established media houses, media outlets still have an upper hand there. So what I see in my view is if we embrace data, they say data is the new gold, we can use that data now to look into other ways of having better conversation with advertisers. If I'm able to mine data, analyze it, make sense out of it, and then I go to company A, I tell you, you have this product, and I have this audience. These are their preferences. So it's easier for someone, for that company, to advertise in that space. And that is what these tech giants are doing by bringing it home close to their readers. But the other thing, as Dr. Kimani said, we should not focus more only on commercial. I think the area of event journalism, thought leadership forum, is a very, very strong area to explore. And for us at Mwananchi Communications, we started this 3 years ago. As we speak today, I think we have gained a lot of experience in that space, and we are seeing the need from the market, from the country. We want to talk about issues that affect their own country and organization. The last one on this one, I would say there's also an opportunity for media to come up as educators. Last year, the Association of Government Spokespersons were meeting in Tanga. So one of our editors went to share the experience of how they've been doing in data journalism. And one of our pioneers, not one, is a pioneer of data journalism at Mwananchi Communications, Nusrat Dawson, seated there. So we did a presentation, and the next thing, they invite Rashid, come teach us how do we put our information in a more meaningful way when we send it out to the public. So that will arrange for special training for about 25 government spokespersons from different ministries at our compound at Tabata Release. So to us, we are seeing this is an opportunity. This one we did it for free, but there are 400 plus. Told them now next time we are going to prepare a program to empower you on this aspect. So there are a number of things which media houses can start looking at whatever we have within in terms of capabilities, and how do we transform that into a business? There was a question on 60% of media outlets use commercial. Yeah, I think they've touched on that one. And then source of revenue, can Tanzania audience afford subscription? I think there's a bit of a challenge here, and the research indicated. Much as we are one of the media companies with the audience in terms of mainstream media, we still struggle to monetize from a digital space. And the researchers were asking, is there an opportunity for the sector, media sector, to get support fund? I think yes. We've seen in a number of occasions when there are crises around the world that other sectors of economy get stimulus packages, get to be bailed out. But that is not been the case for media most of the time. So I think we have to have it, but it has to be an independent support fund, which will not compromise independence of these media outlets. Should we realistically invest more in newsroom and equipment? I think yes. And I was talking to Dr. Kimani when she came down that she helped me in building my case, and Professor Nancy Buka smiled because the research I did at Aga Khan University was trying to convince the organization, the group, that we have to move from finance-driven strategy to market-driven. So what you are seeing here from the finding of my study, actually, you see that we tend to undermine marketing in our planning. We tend to undermine training, and we continue going in that small circle. So I think training and the model used by the Aga Khan University, and I must say, I did not know Professor would be here, I did not know he would be here, so they did not pay me anything to say what I'm about to say. The model they've come up to take leaders in media out in terms of being editors, journalists, or anyone working in that communication space. And they impart them with the knowledge of how to innovate, how to run the media house as a business. I think that model has played magic to me, and I will say we need to learn media houses as business. First, services sector. We can differ on this one, but I believe if we learn our media as businesses, we'll be able to generate the required revenue, which will enable us to invest in good journalism, and that becomes a free win. Number two, editors also, as editors, need to evolve beyond being journalists. If you are managing editor, you are managing that business. You are managing people, you are managing resources, you are looking at opportunity. So I think it's a duty for us to learn how we benefit from that. Journalism, quality of journalism. I think that also is covered. Once you have these resources, you will be able to do quality journalism, you'll be able to pay well journalists, and majority of media houses target regional. Yeah, I think we need to start somewhere. We need to work around our area where the concept of proximity tells us, and the build to expand it to other areas. So I see Libby is coming close to me. Let me run to the last part. One of the things that was highlighted by the researchers is that most companies are very young. And when I was at Aga University, I did a study, one of our assignments, to look at the difference between new and old media. And you could see that emerging young owners of these media houses are quick to make decisions, are quick to experiment, and what is lacking in their space is that level of professionalism, governance, and the financial discipline. Once they get that right, rest assured that most of our media, mainstream media, will go away, and they will be replaced with this new media we are seeing. But that is if we are not willing to transform as mainstream media. So I was asked to suggest what could be the practical policy-oriented solution. For one, I think media leadership and innovation is a must. As I said, yes, editors need to evolve. Number two, we should build a practical problem-solving training approach. I've talked about the Aga Khan University model. And number three, I believe government in the region need to show that they want to have strong media in the region. Media that is, we have friendlier media laws and regulation. They have to pay the debt when they advertise in our space. And lastly, for development partners, I think we should facilitate development journalism. Most development partners here, most projects that are given support, they have to have that communication budget to create awareness about those things. If you are running a project to impact community, and then the community is not made aware of what this project is all about, how much money has been put there, then we miss that opportunity of putting them to account. And with those so many remarks, let me finish by saying asanteni sana, and these are my colleagues from the 3 countries in East Africa who are the first cohort of the Aga Khan University Executive Masters, Media Leadership and Education. And from them, I think the space is going to change, and the professor has a number of cohorts coming until summer. So
another round of applause to Mr. 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕. Kuna mambo mengi ya kuzungumziwa. There's a lot to speak about. There are a lot of opportunities. One of the things that we're going to do right now is to go directly in engaging in conversation and looking at how we can co-create solutions. But because we're a little bit behind time, I'm going to ask that we do that in about 10, 12 minutes. But before we go into that, I just have a few questions, and this is where you get to put your hand up and exercise to lose a few calories. So the first thing I want to ask is, within the room, how many are media owners? Do we have any media owners? No. Do we have any journalists? We've got 2, 3, about 5, 6, 7. Great. Do we have investigative journalists? There we go, 1, 2. Do we have trainers, capacity building professionals? All right. Investors in the space, in the industry, media industries, investors. No. All right. And so within your spaces, for everybody who didn't put a hand up, perhaps innovators in the media space, how many do we have? Do we have some? We do have quite a few. Great. Another question is, from all the research that we've heard about, the presentation from the, Mr. Machumu, opportunities are endless. Do we believe that we are innovative enough to problem solve and create solutions? It's a yes or no? There's a no here. Yes. So everybody who doesn't say no means it's yes. So is it yes or no? Are we innovating enough? Are we innovative enough? This side, can I get a feel from you? Are we innovative enough? You're unsure. You're on maybe. We are there. Good. Maybe is yes. Are we innovative enough? Yes, no. Are we innovative enough? I feel this side is a direct no. This is no. So basically we have a no, yes, maybe. This is beautiful because then the next session we'll get to break down those thoughts a little bit more. What I'm going to ask us to do, leave your bag where it is. Please, let's separate into 5 groups of 10. Can we do that? Acha begi lako hapa polipo. Kwa mfano, the tables over here, we have enough people. So the third row from the back, what you could do is just move to the row behind you and then turn your chair around. Naomba tuende haraka kidogo, hatuna muda. We talk about all these opportunities that are available in Africa. One of the things that Mr. Machumu said is young people are quick, but the biggest challenge that faces us is we take too much time to move into action. So let's move into action really quickly. Mpaka hapo unakuta fursa imeshakuja na imekuacha. We're taking too much time to make decisions. We're taking too much time to move. But this is a space where we start talking about how we can. So we have basically, let me tell you what we're doing. Tuna maswali matano. We have 5 questions. 5 questions that are addressing some of the points that have been raised here. We want to break into groups so each group can actually focus on answering one question. And that's why a group of 3 people is not a group yet. Nahitaji kila kundi kiwe na kama watu 10. It has to have about 10 people for it to be a group, and otherwise you're not a group yet. A group of 2 people is not a group. You're a friendship. Hapa kuna watu watano, we have 5 people here. Can I have 5 more people here? Great, perfect. Can I have 5 more people here? We have a group in the back, pale nyuma. Great. We have, how many groups are here? Is this 2 groups or just 1? This is 1 group, okay? And then at the back, so we've got 2 groups in this space here. We've got 1 group here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 groups. That group at the back, is that entire thing 1 group? The 2 tables? Great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. And with the support of Mr. Hesbon, we've got some flip charts. Can I request support to have each group have a flip chart? A sheet, so there are sheets here. And here are the design questions. So we have 4 groups only. And so within the 4 groups, I'm going to ask us to tackle a few questions. Each group is going to tackle 1. Kwenye kundi namba ni mwe na designated either ni atakuwa ni note taker au atakuwa ni mtu ambao atasaidia kuandika kwenye hiyo sheet. So utapokea sheet, you receive a sheet. And you can write the question that I'm going to share on the sheet. Each group is going to address a different question. You can write the question I'm going to share on the sheet. In each group, we're going to have a rapporteur or representative from AKU or DW to support the group to actually take the notes so that we can have that in our report, so you don't have to do that. directly go into addressing the question. Is that okay? That's great. Okay, so swali la kwanza, kundi hili, this group here, could somebody take the question? So I'm going to share the context, and then I'm going to give you the question. So let's pay attention. How about, are we together? In case you're in a different group and you're not working on this question, and perhaps you have a thought, kama uko kwenye kundi tofauti na unajibu ambalo unadhani litafaa lile swali ambalo kundi lingine linalofanyia kazi, bado utaweza kwenye kila meza kuna hizi documents. Sidhani kama tumepata sticky notes. Kuna hizi the notebooks. Unaweza ukaandika jibu lako alafu ukalikusanya baadaye, maana yake tunataka kupata mawazo mengi iwezekanavyo. So if you're in a different group and you have a thought to answer a question that your group is not addressing, you can still take a paper from the notebooks on your table and write your response. We will collect them and make sure that we're getting as many thoughts as possible. So for this group here, here's your question. Your question is looking at addressing, innovating around revenue models and revenue streams. So the question is, the findings on perceptions of NMO's innovation culture by journalists and media managers seems to suggest that media houses in Tanzania are innovative. However, the traditional revenue models seem to be the norm with very little innovation in revenue models. Considering you said no, this is a great question for you. So the same point about, on one end, the data is saying that there's innovation. However, what we're seeing is we have traditional revenue models that are the norm. The question, what can be done to support NMOs innovate around revenue models and revenue streams? What can be done to support NMOs innovate around revenue models and revenue streams? You can get to cracking. You have about 10 minutes. The group at the back here, your question. Out of 12 different revenue models used by East African NMOs, only subscription models and government advertising support were found to be a positive correlation with financial performance. Dr. Rose shared how in COVID-19, subscription model and government advertising was what really supported media houses to remain afloat. The question is, how can government support to media work without the state influencing editorial independence or distorting the market in a country like Tanzania? Just to give you a bit of context, government support or generally state advertising can be a powerful tool to political favoritism, censorship, market distortion, and emergence of uncritical media that pushes the government agenda rather than public interest agenda. But it does seem that the government support in some format is necessary. So then, how can government support the media work without the state influencing editorial independence? That's the question. Are we good? Are we good there? Okay. So basically, we're saying that government, Hezbollah, could you jump here? Kind of explain, oh, sorry, so you're there. Who from AP is here? So the data that Dr. Rose shared, right, from the findings, told us that, especially during COVID-19, government advertising as well as subscription was seen to be an opportunity, a source of revenue for media houses. That's what happened. However, one of the things that we do see is that government support, or generally state advertising to media houses, this can be a powerful tool for political favoritism. Unaambiwa shusha story, unapigiwa simu, kata hiyo live hapo, one way or the other. So how can we, right? How can government, yes, support the media, but then how can we create a space where that support does not interfere with editorial independence? Yes, you're supporting, but how do we create a space where that's not interfering with editorial independence? Great. The third question, we're coming here. So as regards to organizational capacities, media houses in the region are struggling with insufficient technical and technological skills, especially in the view of the digital disruption. Specific skills ranked lowest in Tanzania, specifically in print TV and radio. We had skills around audience research, advertising and marketing training. We had skills lacking in development of new revenue models and so forth. These were presented by Dr. Rose. So in view of the above, what are the urgent capacities to build and how? What are the urgent capacities to build and how? And how are the major stakeholders to be involved in building capacity, right? What are the best capacity building models? What do the best capacity building models look like, right? So we're talking about capacity building within the media space. Leveraging, we're talking about technical skills, we're talking about leveraging technology or technological skills, right? Is the question okay? What are the urgent capacities to build and how do we build them in a way that supports current or new business models? Is that good? Are we fine? All right.
Working in the media, any other position in the media? Media journalist. Want to go to the other group?
No. Two of us can.
Be my guest if you want to.
Okay, group number 4. Group number 4, I'm going to ask you to tackle the first question. You have 3 questions. There's one around revenue models, there's one around capacity building, and there's one around government support not interfering editorial independence, right? So between 3 questions.
That media does sufficient or is not doing enough. But the thing is, how can we use media organizations to drive revenue streams in our media? And there are different factors that can be nowadays. Yeah. What other skills have we built? So it's a matter of research goals, first of all, and this is what news media is usually struggling with. And we've seen that from data in East Africa, that there's still a long way to go there in knowing who's the target audience, who are we addressing, who are we talking to, what kind of stories are interesting. And when it comes to that, then the question is, do we develop the right to address important issues for the people, and will they in turn support us? We've heard about subscriptions. It doesn't work for anyone. For everyone. It's just a matter of is the content valuable enough so that I, as a consumer, definitely support these things. I find it interesting. I want to share their work. I want it to become sustainable. So that's why I'm paying the monthly fee. So I will pay the part. And we've seen that example in the legal has been experimental. They have their ups and downs, but not everyone. But it depends very much on the country. So, based on your experience, even as where do you think that's where do you think that's the way to is it format? Is it storytelling? Is it content? That's how we tell the story, but is it content? And maybe approaching different other partners. So that there's more revenue streams.
All right, everybody, let's come back to it. Let's come back to it. Tuanze kusikilizana. For all the flip charts where you put your points, we'll have them stuck back here. Tuzibandike huku nyuma. Let's have the flip charts stuck back here. Let's come back together tusikilizane. Tunaanza na kundi la kwanza. We're going to start with the first group. The group that was working on the question, what can be done to support animals, innovate around revenue models and revenue streams. You're going to give us your name, the organization that you represent, and go directly into the response to the question. Everybody please take notes. Let's pay attention to one another. 1 minute or less. Karibu.
Hello guys. Our group was discussing revenue models. What can news media?
Hello guys. Mike said hello guys. Everybody say hello. Hello guys. This is not guys, even ladies. Hello ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Hello. Group number 4, hello. All right, hello. Great, very Mike.
Thank you. So our group was discussing what can be done to support news media organizations to innovate around revenue models and revenue streams. Point number 1, I think in international context, our media is still journalist, which means 30 years ago, when media was formed, media did everything from children's shows to news, to religion, to music, to drama. So to attract revenue models, we needed to understand our specific audience, our group. So for example, we said Tanzania's economy, 60% of it is based on agriculture. So do we have an agricultural-based news media that addresses farmers' issues, which can then turn into revenue, which means from seedling companies to banks that have advertisements to farmers can then use this radio station or TV station to target an audience. So right now, our existing media cannot tap to a 5 billion economy worth of revenue money, because this money, they won't come to our stations to advertise seedling because we don't talk to farmers. So how can we have a specialized audience media base so we can unlock revenue? And second of all, our media is a bit sexist in Tanzania. I think according to numbers, 30% of our listeners are men. So women, it's becoming problematic. Anybody who has done a women program, women project, understand how it's difficult to reach women via media. Our media in Tanzania is sports and entertainment, which is very, very dominated. Now, in statistics, although men earn money, but women makes 90% of the decision of how that money is used. So if women are then not reached via media, which means whatever you advertise, you can't influence. So you ask me, like, what kind of money is that? So women decide what detergent, what cooking oil, what hair products you use, although it can be men's money. So our media needs to then attract women as listeners and viewers, so we can able to unlock revenue money. And the
Thank
last.
you so much. The last one, we are going to come here and read it. Wonderful. Thank you. A hand of applause to group one. They were not able to hear the last point, but the reason we have it back here is you can come over and read it. So basically specialized programming, but at the same time, look at how we can target women as a critical target group. Who's representing from this group?
Hello. So we were basically answering the question, how can government support media without interfering? And one of the key things that actually stood out was, can we have the government implement laws and policies that protect the media rather than sort of, confront them? Because when we have a functioning systematic government that allows the media to flow, then the government is supportive. That environment alone allows media to thrive, allows media to have its editorial independence, and allows the media to really flourish. The other thing that also stood out was, we need to have government work with independent funders or organizations. And where that came from was a good place, because we're innovators who have participated in the Innovators in Residence program. And we saw what this funding sort of did to thrive or to allow our innovation sort of grow in a period of just 1 year. And if that can be reciprocated, and if government can continue to actually facilitate these sort of partnerships, media would function. Because the government then is not working directly with us. We know that the person who is holding us accountable is someone else, and so we continue to tell the stories. And lastly, there's something around community funding. Can the government sort of support community media, because we are more of community affiliated sort of individuals? So if our media in communities sort of works together, does whatever it is that they do, we get to tell the stories.
Wonderful. A hand of applause. Indirect funding to establish partners, implementation of law and policies that protect media independence. The question is how government partnerships with development partners and so forth. We can move to the back and also engage with them right after. Group number 3.
Hi everyone. Hear me? 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕, National Director, Media Institute of Southern Africa, Tanzania chapter. Our group had to discuss on the urgent capacity building and how the capacity building is needed in the media, and how to utilize the digital space. So what we saw is, urgently we need training on how best to utilize the media space for the editors and journalists generally, because currently there is a space between the social media influencers and the real journalists that is not very good. That I wake up in the morning, I find already somebody has already posted something, or the so-called independent activists. They know how to do fact checking very fast. They know how to attract traffic and everything, and some are really good in giving the right information. How do they go about it? It's about the technology, it's about the technical know-how, and how best to reach out the information. So we need to take our journalists to train on that area. The issue of leverage and partnership, it has been discussed that previously there were some exchange programs that were going on. We can even do it within the East Africa context to start with. We have experts in the newsroom in Kenya, in Uganda, and Tanzania, and then the digital and technology know-how. We can have some programs that these three groups exchange. You go to learn, you share, and you come and improve. But also having a succession plan and training, media training in the media houses, as well as mentorship, which is reciprocal, bringing in all the ideas with the new ones, having all the editors having their best practice to the new ones, and the technology needs to make sure that.
Thank you very much. A hand of applause to this group number 3. So basically succession planning, mentorship, leveraging partnerships across the region, but then also finding ways for editors and influencers to work together, because right now the digital space is channeling out information. Oh, you're speaking? Okay. Channeling out information. Every single time you wake up, umekutana, you find a different news piece, but where does governance, accountability, as well as, I guess, excellence in journalism come in? So how do we connect the dots?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕𥑔. I'm from BBC Media Action, and I'm presenting for group number 4. So our question was, what are the urgent capacities, and how can we able to implement them? And we picked up from the findings of Dr. Rose, where she mentioned like the capacities are audience research, which are needed, like from audience research, development of resources, knowledge and skills in advertising and marketing. And yeah, and you can read it from the report that she shared. So for us, we thought one of the key things that we should do is to go back to our learning institutions in checking like the curriculum review, like the current curriculum that is used in our journalism institution is mostly outdated, like it's not going with the current context of digital and innovations that is happening at the moment. So to go back and review and see how can we change it to go with the current content and context. But as well, we said about education policy change to go with the current context, because we know that the policy is the one which is shaping and how the education should be. So like if the policy addresses the issue of innovation and technology, and to make sure that even when they're developing the curriculum from the in the education level, to be going with whatever that we want to achieve in the innovation and technology. But also, we tackled the point of practitioners in the media to have knowledge in journalism, which basically build up to the 5th point with the trend that is going on at the moment, whereby we see many talents in the media which are not professionals, and so we want to have like an alternative education to mold those skills, like for all the people who want to practice journalism but they do not have enough skills, to have like an alternative source to build the skills for them to be able to practice journalism. Thank you.
There are a lot of points. They were the last group, but they have a flip chart full of points. Makofi kwa tafadhali, a massive round of applause. I literally had to grab the mic from your hands. Asanteni sana. Massive round of applause to each one of you. Makofi kwa tafadhali. Like you see, we could not have enough time to go through everything. Mama kuzungumzia ni mengi. We have a lot to engage on, but the point of the matter is, how can we move from just conversing, from shoulda, coulda, wouldas, from this is what we should do, to actual implementation of those solutions that we're thinking about. And one of the things that we can take note is most of the solutions that we came to discuss are not necessarily easy to implement, but we are those that we have been waiting for. So how can each one of us leave here finding ways to have action points, individually have action points that we can take away and implement in our spaces of work? And to move into the next session, we're going to actually hear from some implementers. Some people, some young people who one way or the other found issues in their communities and they decided to use innovation, tackling and leveraging different media opportunities to create innovations that can now be the solutions in those communities. To move us into that session, I'm going to invite Benson Gitaiga from AKU to now invite the innovators, and they're going to take a few minutes each. Each group has about 5 minutes to run their presentation. Please do take notes. Should you have any questions, they will have booths outside so we can engage directly with their innovations. Ni vijana machachari wa Tanzania ambao wamekuja iko Tanzania, wa Kenya pamoja na kutoka Tanzania, Kenya na Uganda, wana suluhu kujibu matatizo tofauti tofauti ambao wameona yakikithiri kwenye jamii zao kwa kutumia teknolojia, kutumia hizo traditional forms of media, lakini pia kikubwa kutumia innovation, kujaribu kufikiria matatizo kwa kuangalia kwa jicho tofauti. Na tuna makundi 8 na wamekuja hapa kuonyesha innovations zao kwa leo. Kila kundi litatumia kama dakika 5. Okay, kumekuwa na mabadiliko tena kwenye ratiba. Tutakuwa na session nyingine ambayo tulikuwa tumeplan awali. This is going to be led by Sami Awami. Sami, karibu sana.
Asante Kels. Tumesikia taarifa nyingi na interesting kutoka kwa presenters waliopita. We've heard from Dr. Rose, who talked about how media heavily relies on, revenues from government or business advertisers and things like that. We've heard from Bakari Matum, talking about how newspapers, the legacy media is still quite core and important in generating revenue as opposed to digital media. Sasa tutakwenda kusikia kutoka kwa watu ambao actually doing this. We have someone from, we have Tony from TANZANI. Please, if you could come forward. We have Abbas from Media Challenge Initiative from Uganda, and then we have Muzalak as well from Nukta. So these gentlemen are actually, trying to navigate all these challenges that we've had and some successes. And so they're going to share with us actually how is their experience, the hands-on experience that they've had since they started their media organization. The first one I'll start with Tony from the TANZANI. I'm a massive fan of TANZANI. I think they're doing amazing work. So could you tell us, please, about your experience since you started and how have you been finding?
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Tony 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕. I'm one of the co-founders of the TANZANI. It's a digital media operating here in Tanzania. So we started in 2020, and we started with understanding that the media landscape is very hard, and we need money to operate. But the first most important thing is that we wanted to build a unique brand of news outlet that is with its own mission to inform the public, but also to speak about issues that are important to the public. So when we started, that is in 2020, for a year, we did it with our own money. But and by then the investment was only the three of us. We are three co-founders. But from 2021, that's when we started to figure it out how to make it a business in a way that we can actually fund our journalism. So we position ourselves as a creative outlet, specifically in informing the public on some of the complex topics in Tanzania, be it about the loans, transparency and accountability. So we position ourselves that way. And we knew that we couldn't compete with other giants in the media landscape, specifically in advertisements. So with time, we create a separate niche. We are offering these other media-related services, specific creative services. So we work with companies that we offer them services from specifically some of the company an organization that relate to some of our content that we usually generate. So you have a report that wants it simplified. The TANZANI can do it. You need a short 2-minute video. The TANZANI can do it, and we've been doing that. So from 2021, we're 3 people, the founders, but then up to now we are like a team of 18 people. And there's a lot of money that we're generating from some of these creative services. So most of the time when we say that we are not here to tap advertising market, because we know the cost. The cost of marketing will not be, we will need to invest a lot on marketing, but we need the fund now. So that's why we decided to do with what we have. Then with time, we are going to expand. But in June, we are going to expand to another product, but it's not going to be advertising. It's something else. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations for what you're doing. Just one question for you. We heard from Bakari saying, and many other people that digital hasn't worked very well for them. The revenue income from that is just about 5%. How have you been how are you doing, and how have you been able to make it work?
Yeah, I think the 5% from MCL, when you give me, it's a lot of money. I understand they're a very big organization. The way we approach is that we decided to make a decision that we're not going to grow abruptly. So you can earn money, but most of the time organizations stumble because then you have a lot of non-essential investment. You have a lot of non-essential personnel. So we decided whatever we're going to get, we're going to grow, but not just to grow in a way that is going to be expensive to us, but yeah, it has to make sense that we are growing in a way. If we get $1, that $1 will have to bring $2, and the two will have to bring three. So it has to make sense. So that's how we just balance the anything that we get, and we use it to grow the next step. Yeah.
Abbas, I'm going to come to you. I've had a lot of amazing stories, and what you guys are doing, yes, a lot of great stories, mainly from Jay and other people. But could you tell us briefly what exactly are you doing at your organization, and how have you been doing?
Sure. Mambo. Good. That's the only one I can say. My name is Abbas Mpindi. I work with Media Challenge Initiative, and we are training the next generation of journalists, and we are also supporting media innovators. That's as simple as it gets. Thank you. Our structure is different. So we are a training and capacity building organization. So to the subject that we're talking about, media viability, we approach that through education and at different levels. So the first level is you need great journalists who can do quality journalism. So we do training and building capacity of young journalists so that as the industry is demanding new talent, new skills, we have a pool of talent that you can recruit from. So that's the first intervention. The second intervention is supporting media innovations like, like Keys and Marion, Bank and others, because we realize that each and every day there is a new demand for new level of content. And there are young people that have new innovations and new ideas that need support. So we created the MCI Media Hub, which is, say, a co-working space or an innovation or an incubation center where young, brilliant, amazing journalists who may not have a chance to go to the mainstream media have an option to start their own startup and build it. And that's where we get support from, DW Academy, Aga Khan, to accelerate them further, to take them through issues of media viability and how to sustain their businesses, right? And what we can do is provide an environment, a fun space where they can walk in every day, knowing that they will not worry about rent, they will not worry about internet, not worry about mentorship, because there is someone being able to cushion that. But that takes, a resource behind the scenes to be able to put that in place, which happens to be MCI. And then the other third intervention is news literacy, right? So, which is also part of education. Like the audience needs to be literate enough to consume the content and know why it's important for them to have very quality journalism. And because you need a literate audience, you have to do a lot more work every day to make sure that the audience understands the work of journalists, what they go through, the cost of the content, not just even the audience, but even journalists themselves, because they need to know that the story is more than just a story. There's business behind each and every story. There's money, there's risk, there's everything for them to know that at the end of the day, it's more than just. So those three things.
You've had the very insightful research by Dr. Rose there. How much could you see is reflective of what you're encountering from the people that you're trying to support? How much of it that you've been seeing, happening or experiencing with this, young media organization that
I think one key insight is that it's the understanding of there's just a lot of like the audience is demanding. You have different categories of audience, and those audiences need to be fed differently. And you could be a mainstream media, a legacy media, but you can't serve everyone if you are staying very linear and very traditional. And so the innovators that we support have to enter the market and take advantage of those underreported issues, underreported categories of people. And that's why you have, Science TV that takes care of people with hearing impairment. You have Minority Africa that takes care of people of minorities across the continent, and the debunk that's doing fact check. So the different categories of people, and at the scale, you have to make sure that each and every person is catered for. It's hard for a traditional legacy media to do that because of the cost. But the hope, I think, which Mr. Bakar referred to, is that the new emerging online young owners like him is where we have hope that those will continue to reach those audiences. Yeah.
Thank you. 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕, what is your model and has it been working okay or very well?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕 and from NUCTA Africa. So we do research in applied emerging journalism and communication practices, data journalism, fact checking, and multimedia storytelling. And also we provide media training based on what we have learned in the process. And of course, we are a registered digital news company. We are 5 years, and I think we'll be celebrating our 5th year on Thursday this week of incorporation. Our product, which was typically, the first Swahili data-driven website, and we have now the channel is also coming on the way. So we started in 2018 in the 1st of January when you guys were celebrating Happy New Year. We're in our apartment building and start launching our product. So related to the topic we are discussing on media viability, we have been approaching this issue into 3 levels. First, the financial sustainability. Second, the quality journalism. And third, the operational sustainability. We were very small, like we were very few people. But at the end of the day, our readers want us to say we publish every day. And of course, we pay our bills as well. So the first we launched the NUCTA Habari, 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕 in January 2018. And then with our own profit, money of our own revenues for founders. And of course, we realized that based on the business model that we are thinking around, typically on ads, direct ads and all, couldn't make sense. And we had a team of very talented colleagues there. And then we started to add the second product that was in capacity building. That's why even you go on the board, people would not ask more on capacity building, on data journalism, all this fact checking and other emerging journalism communication practices. So we started providing training to our fellow journalists, editors, companies on the areas of specialization. And then the third aspect has been on also providing consultants, advisory services on area that we do, mostly on data visualization. We work with many researchers here in Tanzania, for the other companies in supporting them on this. But all of this, they are not really journalism. They are just supporting journalism. At the end of the day, we want to generate revenue directly related to our investment in quality journalism. Because let's say for us, Bakari was saying 5%, as Tony said, for them it's a big deal. But for us, I think it's 2 or 3% of revenue we're getting on the digital news for us. 97% is coming from other things. So what do we do to remain relevant? Because the danger of using this business model let's say, consultants, events, whatever the service you're providing is, if this is most profitable, you are likely to forget quality journalism. And you are going to move your team strictly doing commercial work. So how do we minimize this impact? So we have restructured our company since last year. We have a research and learning team, typically researching new products. If like now they're busy researching AI and journalism. How can they present data, or how can they train community radios who have only 2 computers in the areas and all of this stuff. And then we have editorial who are specifically dealing with news. Of course, some of the team in the editorial also support content production. So at least for content every day, data driven and everything. But when you get another, maybe a client, they can also service. And at the same, the research and learning team do the same. So this has been a way forward. As I said, to remain relevant, you need to experiment a lot. We have a lot of verticals, and some died naturally. We had one which was like iTunes. It's used even to record your radio shows when you are not around. You just command and it does. So when TCRI came with online content regulation, we were nowhere to know where we are belonging, which we register the radio. We killed the product. So the same experiment. We have a Jico point, and we launched the Kozika, you can see that in the booth, where journalists now can learn freely Swahili skills, data-driven skills in Swahili and everything. All of these are the ways to make sure we produce quality journalism. We train our fellow journalists to produce quality journalism as well, and of course pay the bills. At the end of the day, we need to survive in the next 100 years or so. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Nokta is not big, let's say, like Mananchi, like whatever that is. And we all understand, yeah, I think across East Africa, is that no investors that are coming directly to native digital news. They will visit you, and then after seeing your cash flow, whatever balance sheet, they'll say, no, we are not interested in this. We are not going to make profit in the next 3 or 4 years. But remember, you need to produce news. And as Bakari said, like initially we used to think news business like journalism as a service. You produce service, and most of us who grew up in the newsroom, you think a lot about your story rather than thinking about your money. And that's why even we've been struggling. Most of us, like, you grew up in the newsroom, maybe you are promoted to a news manager. You think most of short to medium levels. You don't think on long term. So all of these also contribute towards. So on this 2 to 3%, we understand that we will definitely grow. We started with, let's say, 50 users. For us, we count users instead of views purposefully. But now you have thousands. People understand once you don't publish, they will call you why you haven't published. So we understand. Of course, some people follow us for ads as well. We haven't put much effort on ads, but they will definitely call you. Some will come, hey, we want to sponsor, and we have to agree on the terms. These are our terms, and these are your terms, so that you don't affect our production line. Because if you come every time and say, okay, I want you guys to do this, remember we also have our own strategies to achieve. Of course, we are sitting between survival and the growth, which is very important for all of us to understand this. We shouldn't preach something that we don't do in the newsroom. But the truth is, as we grow our audience, we also need to pay our bills. So all of these good things, data journalism is new across the region, across Africa. Very few people went to school understand what we are doing. But with simplification of, data and visuals, we're now training journalists to narrate data. Instead of 75%, they'll say 3 in 4, people access, clean water. all of these will help us maybe reach somewhere. One day, once we meet here, we're likely to say, okay, 50% of our revenue maybe is coming from our digital thing. But I'm really worried to be a news district.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think I'll allow you to go back to your seats. Now, the liberalized media industry in Tanzania, as we know it today, started only, in early 1990s. The video that we're going to see right now, to watch right now, take us through that journey. How did it start? How has it been doing and where we are right now? And welcome the Jamii Forum's people in Toweza to play that video. And then after we've watched the video, we will have a discussion conversation, either from the gentleman here, but also from the video that we will be watching. Thank you.
The media? The first phase of the media industry in Tanzania is undergoing 4 distinct phases, each with its own characteristics and goals. The first phase was the German colonial media, which aimed to advance the interests of German settlers and farmers. The second phase was British colonial propaganda, which dominated the media sector during the British administration from 1916 to 1961. The third phase saw the emergence of nationalist media advocating for self-governance and human rights, including African-owned newspapers like Petro that focus on issues relevant to the indigenous population and campaigned for social, economic, and political equality. The fourth phase was characterized by socialist regimes media after Tanzania gained independence in 1961. Julius Nyerere's government established the Mwananchi Printing and Publishing Company in 1962 to create a Swahili press and an English paper to promote national unity and development. The Tanganyika's Broadcasting Corporation (TBC) played a critical role in Tanzania's pre-independence political scene, but it faced
criticism by its language policy, which aimed to use Swahili as the nation's lingua franca. The democratization process led to an increase in the number of newspapers, and private publications were no longer restricted after the implementation of the multi-party system in 1992. The Broadcasting Services Act of 1993 allowed for private broadcasting, challenging the state monopoly or RTD. The government has become more tolerant of criticism but still regulates the media through the Newspapers Act of 1976. Plans to launch a mainland television station were revived in the late 1980s, and Tanzania's first television station was launched in 1994. The liberalization of Tanzania's media sector paved the way for the establishment of community radio stations, which gave a voice to marginalized groups and contributed to community development. With the emergence of multiple television stations, online platforms, and social media channels that offer faster and more accessible ways to access news and information. Different from the traditional ways of communicating with people, the internet has been shown to reach a great number of people. Tanzania Communications Regulatory Authority (TCRA) presents data on the trend of internet subscriptions for the past 5 years, showing an average growth rate of 19% per year. In 2018, there were more than 23 million internet subscriptions, which increased to more than 30 million subscriptions by the end of March 2023. This is more than 50% of the Tanzanian population. That is, internet can reach many people differently from traditional media. However, technological advancement in Tanzania has faced a number of challenges, including unfriendly laws and regulations such as Statistics Act, EPOCA, Media Services Act, and Online Content Regulation. These acts are used to undermine the freedom of expression and information sharing. There will be challenges that come with emerging technologies and shifting audience needs. It will require a collective effort from media practitioners, policymakers, and citizens to ensure that the evolution of the media industry is inclusive, ethical, and responsive to the needs of all Tanzanians. Nonetheless, the potential for growth and transformation is vast. Tanzania can build a media ecosystem that propels the country into a bright and prosperous future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie Florence and 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕. Do we have questions or comments from previous speakers and from the video maybe? Do we have any questions or comments? No? I'm happy to ask you a question then. Especially to our speakers maybe. Maybe I'll start with Dr. Rose. Yes. Oh, we have questions. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Simon, and I'm from Uganda. So I think I would like to ask one very simple question. What is the future? The question is, what is the future? Because we have seen the past. What is the future?
There's a question here. What is the future? Abbas, would you like to take that? Where is Abbas? Oh, he's not here. Maybe Nuzulati, you could take that question. What is the future? He said we've seen the past. How things are. What is the future now?
Oh, okay. This is a very broad question, but I'll try my level best to respond. I mean, journalism won't die today, tomorrow, even thousand years to come. I think the medium will be changing over time. The news consumption behavior will be changing, but it won't disappear. The only important aspect here that I'm really worried would be on how newsrooms will be raising money, also maintaining their independence. Because like yesterday we were discussing here about artificial intelligence with journalism, with ChatGPT, now creating stories with robots, filming news presenters and all of this stuff. I mean, the news processes that we had 10 years ago, they are likely to change completely, from news gathering, editing, and the dissemination. But what defines journalism won't change. So what is the future? The first would be um, newsroom or media houses or news outlets that will be producing high quality content will still have audience. That's very, very important to know. Because with even increasing misinformation and disinformation, some people are now seeing, okay, some of these content that are going on social media are not true. And remember, our business in news is we are selling trust. That's why you are choosing CNN, you are choosing BBC, you are choosing Nukta. Information is everywhere, even to your auntie, your uncles, you have information. But that trust that Monarch is publishing high quality news, well researched and balanced, is what people go there. So news company that will be publishing quality journalism will survive. Second, it will be a duty of media houses to start educating or building a habit for the audience to consume quality content. We need to take this road. Because nowadays, people would go to Instagram, even take crazy stuff because, cats, dogs, and everything. Then we'll be blaming people not viewing our highly investigative stories published on YouTube. You have spent $5,000 for doing your investigative stories. You get 100 views on YouTube and you're frustrated. It's our duty to train them or through our program to like, hey, you need to start valuing high quality content. But telling them alone won't help. You need, of course, to produce a most attractive content, not sensationalism. No, the way you package your content, whether it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that is, 10 minutes, but make sure it also goes with the audience, whatever news consumption behavior. Our audience currently is predominantly youth, between 18 years to 35 years. The way they consume news is different from my grandma. She would be glued to the radio stations since morning to evening, but people are in the go with smartphones and everything. So if we think around these elements, and of course the last thing I think we need to do most of data-driven decision making on how we package our news, how we gather them, even in the way we create our business model, it will help. Subscription may work in USA or in Germany, but may not work here where our GDP per capita is still, less than $1,200. Grants may work somewhere, but may not really work here because it depends on the foundations and the donors. So all of this, if we do data-driven decision making in the newsroom, I think newsrooms will survive even for the next 5,000 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamie, from the video that you shared with us, you've tracked, the journey of Tanzanian media. Do you have any insights on how the future would look like?
I'll start by explaining a bit about the video that I've shared with you.
he has a question and he thinks maybe you could address it while maybe you could ask a
Good afternoon. So I have a question to the new forums. On your presentation, you used the word undermine. And personally, I think there's a thin line between undermining and regulating. So I'd really love to understand what you meant in this context, what you really meant by undermining the freedom of expression or journalism, what you really meant by that. Okay. I think this is fine. Yes, good afternoon. I am Francis Nyonzo, a Programs Officer from the New Forums, and I would like to explain a bit about the video that we have shared. What we have seen is some technological advancements which we don't actually address recently. And this is why we have categorized like this is traditional media and the digital media. This says, I mean, from the traditional media, you can see there was some developments from the print media, radio, then we came to televisions. And there was antagonism in each and every advancement that happened in the history. And I can say, mostly those who are say from print media always are antagonists to any other advancement that comes to them. Of course, it just happened that I heard a paper of Summer that showed how the government was against even the televisions. They said they were for the airlines, so most of the people couldn't get the message. Similar thing is happening right now when we are somehow antagonists to the digitalization. And we have spoken much about how it can affect the print media, the traditional media. But we have seen our brothers here saying how it has actually helped them to have these media outlets that do not print anything but still get money. Chance Initiative, Look to Africa, and the like. So it is a call for the one who asked the question, what is the future? The future is, we should learn from the history that you cannot resist any advancement that comes towards you. And the world now is going to the digital, it is going to be digitalized. So everything is actually changed. We have to be digital. And we have seen the digital economy. And we have these e-papers, the e-opportunities. They all tell us like we should be such digital. And this says to all the media outlets, be it traditional or a digital one, is to call for more people to be connected. This is the audience that we want. And it is from the audience that you can sell your content or you can get money out of these people who are subscribing to your content. Of course, we have seen some of the, from the research that has been presented here, the amount of money that some media outlets do get from the subscriptions. That means we need people online. However, I've said that we are somehow antagonists to this technology. This is why we all take like, of course, I have had an argument from one of our brothers, a brother here saying, these people online, they always chase views or likes, so they do spread the fake news, right? But the truth is, if you are spreading any rumors, the fake news, automatically people will not be following you every now and then because no one is interested in the fake news. And it is the task now for the other media outlets to counter, to fact check. This is where comes the issue of the fact checking. So people will just, if you have your, let's say it is a Facebook page or Instagram page, which fact checks everything that is happening in social media. So you will be relevant and the people will follow you instead of the one that is spreading the fake news. So we should not worry about the so-called fake news, the so-called fake news. Please, I want to put myself here on that, the so-called fake news. We should not be worrying of that thing to the extent that we want to ban everything that's happening in the digital world. Coming to what the brother asked about the undermining the freedom of speech. I read the Tanzanian Constitution, Article 18. Article 18 of Tanzanian Constitution gives any person the rights to get and to disseminate information, to share information. But you have seen the laws and regulations that somehow want to put away some of the people from sharing information. And now I should actually take arguments from yesterday. Brother Kamanzi differentiated between citizen journalists and journalists. The issue here is like, say, somebody should not share the information just because he has been to school, to the journalism schools. But what if I am an economist and I can do the analysis about the economic issues? Am I not having the authority to speak about the economic issues just because I'm not a journalist? And this is why, the same way you take the journalists to school, to short courses to learn about financial issues or economic issues, tell the stories with data. Similarly, someone who is not a journalist can be given some of the trainings on the ethics of telling the stories while observing the ethics that want to be observed. The issue is, when we speak of the, taking what Kamanzi yesterday said, the issue is not if you are a professional now, you can actually differentiate yourself from these other people who are sharing information. The only difference you can give is you should have some background, you should just go deeper than this man who is just sharing what has happened. But what we see from the laws and regulations that are now in practice is some people are not even allowed to share the information. Now, I was asking myself, like, if I see accident that happened, I can tell somebody close to me, like, I've seen an accident somewhere. This is information sharing, right? Similarly, if I do post that thing on Facebook or Instagram, it is information sharing. Like, I've seen an accident happen somewhere. Now, why can it become a crime when I do share information on Facebook, while if I tell somebody who is close to me, it's fine? This is why we need to tell people we should put ourselves in a way that we do understand how digital world is changing, is transforming the issues. And we should not be an antagonist to them. Instead, we should learn how to go with it. And this is why I do say, even yesterday I said this, Aga Khan University has got a master's degree in digital journalism. Why? Because they have registered themselves faster. But we just want to be against it. I just want to put this clear. We were against televisions, and we can see what we are doing right now. We got few televisions than other countries that accepted the technology early. The faster we are on accepting the technologies, the more relevant we will be in this digital world. Thank you.
consequences. You had a question as well? And there? Okay, so let's start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jamil, for your presentation. I have questions to the Aga Khan University as well as the Jamil Forum, and some clarity when it comes to a journalist. The word that they used yesterday, I think putting in Swahili is more easier. The mwana habari and mwandishi wa habari, citizen journalist and a journalist. There is no way in a community like Tanzania we can proceed in the media industry if we do not address these two. Why? We have seen the government is trying to control the morality, the distance, the ethics when it comes to media, and that gets to everyone in the industry. So my question is, some of us here are development partners, some are media organizations, some are media companies, and so forth, and the university. Are there any initiatives that we can come with together, creating a triangle? Because as an advocator of freedom of press, freedom of media, freedom of expression, as Ms. Satan is, we want this to be done in the right way, not just because that I'm free to say anything, then I say fake news is okay, we don't need to get into that, because fake news has caused a lot of harm in the society. But how can we create a space whereby there is a freedom of expression, there is a freedom of media, but yet we regulate the space of allowing fake news, because it's really bad. Just imagine you wake up in the morning, you just find somebody decided to post something very ill of you, and you're sure it's not, but that person has a traffic and you are attaining something. You need to use a lot of effort to clear that. So we need to find a way that we can come to that. In my thinking, I believe with the development partners and others, if we have road users who are even standard 2 class, but for them to use the road, they should have a license that is, normally the license is 3 years here in Tanzania, the road license. They go for a special training just to brush up ethics, the way about of using the road for 2 weeks, and then they get a license. But if they do anything not proper, not according, the traffic regulators, they take away the license from them. They can even ban for them to use the road for a particular time. And it's very fair. It doesn't mean that they have not exercised their freedom of movement. They can still move, but they can make sure that everybody is safe. Then in the media arena, we should come up with a solution that, because what I see is the government is living in the dark when it comes to this space, and media actors and the business people also, they are in the same, it's like a giant that has just come to Tanzania and like, what can we do? You are stopping this. This is making money. This is sharing information. We want some ethics and all that. Maybe that's a room. But also when it comes to master's degree in digital journalism, with which Aga Khan University is doing it, which is very good. As much as we have traditional media that, as it has been reported, it's going to be there because there are a number of people who are still using it. But as previous presenters say, if at all the news is well cooked, is well presented, still there'll be people who want to use it. This is a call of having a digital media as a component in our universities. Because currently, I'm pretty sure, I'm not a journalist, but I'm business economic oriented, because I know any newsroom, any business-oriented person will move with the space of who is my consumer, where is the demand. So if that's the case, then let us see a room of bringing an answer to that, because otherwise just training, because in our group we mentioned something about succession. We have journalists now, we have editors now, but if you don't give them a proper startup, it will always be a problem when they get to practice.
Thank you very much. Unaweza kusoma kwa sekunde chache sana, sababu muda umekwisha.
Thank you. Yeah. I need an interpreter because I'm not fluent in English. So you can assist me. Because I'm not sure that those people were targeting to use English, whether they know English. Maybe they know Dutch. And we are struggling here with this attitude to make them comfortable while they don't know even English. Anyway, tuendelee. Yeah, my friend from Jamii Forum, you asked the question, but you just became a bit circumlocucious, but you didn't even answer the question. You asked whether the government is undermining the freedom of expression or regulating, but you didn't say anything. Let me try to answer for you. The government of Tanzania is facilitating the freedom of expression. That's why we find that we have more than 3 newspapers, while the government has got about 5 out of more than 300 newspapers. Radio stations, we have over 200 radio stations, but the government has got only 1 or 2. Likewise, the TV stations, we have more than 50 TV stations, but the government has got only 1. There is one country on this planet which has more than 3,000 TV stations, but they all belong to the state. So now, Mheshimiwa, so I better tell you or ask you to remove that word or phrase of undermining the press freedom, where you say the government is facilitating or is enabling. Asante.
So, Francis.
Asante. Naomba nitumie Kiswahili kwa wakati huo, then I will be switching kwa haraka haraka. This is my very first time to hear kwamba freedom of expression can be degraded. My very first time. How am I free if I am liberated? That would be a question. Nije kwa dada Riziki anasema kuhusu hizi teknolojia na of course anasema wanahabari na vitu kama hivyo, akisema kwamba magari yanakuwa licensed na nini. Tunapoangalia katika masuala ndio maana nimesema kwamba hizi habari nasema ni fake, ninazosema ni fake ndio zimezalisha fact checking, kwamba kuna poto nyingine kwa ajili ya kucounter hizi. Hiyo haiwezi kutokea kama ajali imetokea, yani kwamba wewe ukipiga car ikitokea ajali you cannot do anything kusema kwamba that, lakini habari imetokea kule ukaandika huko no, that is wrong, hii ni right. The effect is clear. Kwa hiyo tukifananisha hii magari na freedom ya mtu kujielezea ni tofauti. Sasa ukisema regulating, mzee wangu, kuna baadhi ya watu wameongea vitu leo, kesho kaondolewa newsroom. Umeregulate, umefinya, maana mwingine ataogopa kuongea kesho. We should be fair on this. Kwa hiyo kwa haraka hizi terms tunatumia nyingi kwamba mwanahabari, habari na nini, lakini kiuhalisia inabidi jamani twende na digitali. Tunapokuwa na pinga digitali kwa term hiyo, hawa kina Nuzla na watu wa chanzo watapiga hatua nyingi kuliko hizi newsroom ambazo zazidi kujifungia huku, hasitaki kuwa na kujua kwamba vitu vinabadilika na kwenda sawa na digitali. Asante.
Thank you very much. I will now, pole bahati mbaya muda umekwisha, labda mwishoni. Hand it over to Kels and she'll tell us what's next.
Asante sana Sami, makofi kwake tafadhali. Sami Awami, incredible conversations. Kuna mengi ya kuzungumzia kama tunavyoona, muda unatutupa mkono. Time is not on our side, or are we not on time's side? One of the two. We are moving on to the next session. The next session is we're going to have our innovators come and present their ideas, their products, and so on and so forth. Every innovator, please put your hand up. Innovators, makofi kwao. This, somebody asked, what is the future? This is the future, right here. All right, so we're going to have the teams led by 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕🔂, who is outside. He's walking right inside this. In the next 5 seconds, he's going to be in, and he's going to let us know which ones are the innovators that are pitching. Now, considering time, we're going to try our best. Like I said, we have 8 teams. Each team is presenting for about 5 minutes. That means we will need 40 minutes of presentation. We only have 30 minutes on our hands. And so one of the things that we're trying to work on is we might have to select some of the innovators where we'd have about 5 or 6 presenting. If not, we'll try, but then we'll try our best to have all of you present, right? So one of the things that's going to happen right after, like we said, they're going to have booths outside where they're going to be showcasing their innovations. So please do make sure that you get to visit them outside, get to hear about their innovations and ask them questions. Because again, because of time, we will not have time for you to ask them questions or interact with them right when they're on the stage, but we're going to have that time allocated outside, right outside these doors. Mr. 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕🔂, karibu sana, makofi kwake tafadhali.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to take you on a very quick journey on media innovators across Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. At the Aga Khan University Graduate School of Media and Communication, we have the Media Innovation Center. Through it, we have managed to have 13 startups across the East African region, and I'm very happy to say that they're fresh, they're innovative, and they're sustainable. They're so sustainable that so far they've raised over $1 million across the 13. So we're going to go straight ahead and go with the first startup, which is Debunk. Debunk, you have 3 minutes to do this so we can try and catch up with time.
So what we're going to do, right after as Debunk is preparing themselves, Benson is also going to prepare the next innovators that are coming after Debunk. If you can allow me to just ask you to stand on the side here, we're going to arrange ourselves in a way that will allow us to come to the stage one after the other. Right before your presentations, I have been asked to bring to the stage Dr. Nancy Booker to invite our representative from the German Embassy to kind of take us along the journey and now lay the stage for the presenters who are coming. Karibu sana, Dr. Nancy.
Thank you for that. It is my singular honor to be here again to welcome the head of cooperation at the German Embassy in Tanzania to make some remarks. And why this is important for me at a very personal level is that, many of you had Kyrie speak earlier today, and part of the support, the financial support that enabled him, and I think I also saw 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕𝒔 earlier on, that support came to us through a very generous grant under the East Africa Media Scholarship from the German Development Bank. So we are working very collaboratively with our colleagues and counterparts, from Germany to support, media development in this part of the continent. So Dr. Katrin Bornemann grew up in Saudi Arabia and in Germany, and her studies in the fields of political science and media and communication studies led her to Spain, Bolivia, the UK, and Germany, where she later on obtained her PhD. And she's currently the head of cooperation at the German Embassy in Tanzania since 2020. So Katrin, please come. We are delighted to have you. Set the stage as we welcome our innovators in residence. A good number of the teams also coming from Tanzania. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for the friendly words. Habari za leo. Anaitwa Katrin Bornemann, ninafanya kazi ubalozi wa Ujerumani, ninakaa Dar es Salaam. Lakini kwa bahati mbaya Kiswahili yangu Kwa hiyo sina budi nitaji kuendelea kwa Kiingereza. Sorry. It's always nice to start something in Swahili because this is how you get some applause in the beginning. It's nice. Thank you. I will be very quick. I understand that we don't have much time left, and let me just quickly tell you a little bit why I am here. I'm the head of cooperation, which means I'm responsible for the development cooperation from Germany and Tanzania. We are supporting the Deutsche Welle Academy, we are supporting 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕, and we are also supporting Aga Khan University. So just imagine like a little German flag also there next to the Canadian one maybe. And right now we're supporting Tanzania with media development about 1 million euros per annum. And so this means that this sector indeed is very important for us. This is one reason why I'm here, to assure you that Germany is very keen on supporting media development also in the future. And my second reason here is that I'm here to learn from you, and this is why I will be hopefully very quick. And my third reason is that I would like to underline once again how important media development is actually for development cooperation. If you remember the CAG, the Auditor's General report has been published lately. And me, myself, I was very, very happy to see how this report was also received in the media and how there was also reporting on it. We see this as a very clear and good sign that there are good journalists there that can take up all these important information. Also, I would like to underline that free speech is an independent journalists and media houses is more important than ever. I think I'd like to draw quickly upon what my pre-speaker has said when it came to fake news, because I'm not so much on the same page there. I think I go more with my colleague here, sitting in the front, and I really do believe that fake news and fake information is actually a problem in today's society, not only in Tanzania, not in Uganda, not only in Kenya, but also, of course, in Germany and Europe. And I think it is your task as responsible journalists and media houses to work against that. Of course, there are people that are interested in fake news and fake media. And I think it is the duty of every responsible journalist and media house to do good research, background research, and to draw upon information and data. The task is to look very closely, to decover and to also report corruption if taking place. It's the watchdog function of society. It's an important pillar for democracy and to inclusion, and of course to watch about over human rights. And I think human rights and the protection of free press and media is now more important than ever. We condemn hate speech. We condemn hate speech against women. We also condemn hate speech against ethnic minorities, as such has been sometimes the case against the Maasai. We urge to protect all human beings, no matter the sex, the gender, or skin color. In particular, in times we need to protect our relationships that are built on love. We should look very careful if hate is fueling the speeches. And we have seen that lately, that hate speech also reported in media could lead to real action, could lead to discrimination and actually also to murder. So I would urge you to be very vigilant here. I don't want to, no, one last sentence there. I think that when we try to protect the vulnerable ones in our society, it is also because vulnerability can shift. Today it might be them, tomorrow it might be us. So have this in mind. I was asked also to sum up a little bit the outcomes of the researchers of Media Futures East Africa. I think very important is to say Once again, one of the main sources for revenue income is commercial efforts. This is something that we need to have in mind when it comes about speaking about the independency of media houses and journalists. Also, one finding was that during COVID times, still the governmental ads and commercials were there to save them through the COVID crisis. This means that governmental funding is important, but how could we actually shift that to a more neutral funding? I think there was also an idea to go, for example, creating a fund, a governmental fund where media houses could draw money out. I think I don't want to steal so much time from the innovators because they are more important also than me. Let me just quickly assure you that we really deeply appreciate your work. I understand that we're listening, or that Media Future East Africa was supporting 9 innovators, which were also the ones working in the field. I think 4 from Tanzania, 4 from Kenya, 1 from Uganda are here or are supported. And I'm very eager to listen to your tools, to your innovative, also maybe revenue models, and what kind of media startups you were looking at. And we are very proud of your work. So thank you once again, and I hope to get into discussions with many of you today and tomorrow. I hope I was quick.
Okay, we're going to go all the way to Uganda, and Deepank, please take the stage.
Hi everyone. Hello. Habari. How many of us here in March 2020 believed that Africa was not going to manage the COVID-19 pandemic? Just raise your hand. How many of you actually thought our families were all going to perish on the continent because the European countries were not able to contain the virus? How many? How many of you were scared that the next day you were not going to actually leave because the story at the time was that the continent would never manage to help us survive? Those are the narratives, and that's the story. We are the first ever fact-checking organization in Uganda, and that's the DIBA. My name is Mary Napio. I am the CEO. I'm not alone. I came with Bella, who's our communications person. Wow. When someone says fake news is not an issue, I worry. Fake news is a human rights challenge, and it's about time we actually recognize the impact it has had on many people. Think about the pandemic and how many people believed so many stories, and people who died taking on concoctions, thinking that if they did steam over and over and over again, we're going to fight the virus. Misinformation spreads very fast. From that research, you can see 75%, apologies, more likely to be repeated than factual information. And so you would ask, why debunk, right? Why us? Let me ask, how many of you here don't care about information? Okay, let me rephrase. How many of you care about information? And that's what we are here for. We are not only tracking and debunking misinformation, we want to give you the accurate information you need so that the people you serve make informed decisions. For the past few years we've been together, we've been able to produce a number of factual information. We've been able to prototype a fact-checking bot that can help you and I and our communities access accurate information. We've trained young people from the partnership we've had with Aga Khan University. And while we're here today, we are asking for strategic partnerships to help us build these models. They asked what are our revenue models. We are the agency we would like you to trust to give young people accurate information. And as a fact-checking agency, if you're interested about education, that's the content we're going to produce. We would like to get money to partner with you so that we produce mass fact checks, not only in audio, text, or video, but the content that people need to make informed decisions. We also have the bots and a number of things. And so, this is my conclusion. If you care about society, if you care about the decision-making processes for young people, if you care about human rights, if you care about democracy, this is about time that we fight misinformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we are still in Uganda, where Simon from Open Science will be here to pitch. Please, this is how we clap for Simon because he's deaf. Okay, great job.
Thank you so much. My name is Simon Elo. I'm from Uganda. So, I am an advocate for inclusion, where we support people with disabilities to access information. So I'll begin by telling you a story. There was a young man who was my friend. His name was Willis. He used to live in northern Uganda. This is a region which has seen more than 20 years of war because of Joseph Kony. Just coming out of this war. This young man once walked out during COVID time. There was curfew. So the military decided to shoot at him. Once they shoot at him, his left leg was cut off. He was admitted in hospital, and then later he lost his life. He's a deaf young man. He had a hearing problem. So that is just an example of the challenges deaf people face in Uganda. So we decided that we cannot see that anymore. The solution was for us to start Scientific Uganda. So Scientific was a media channel to help convey information in sign language to the deaf community. We piloted the idea and started in May last year. So Scientific started broadcasting content, which includes a program that broadcasts content, which is live. What is happening in the community, we broadcast it in sign language. And then again, we started a weekly program where we give news to the deaf community in sign language. Then there was also a Health Matters program where we give deaf people access to information, health information like HIV/AIDS, contraceptives, and many other information. Then also we add the entertainment program. So all that has helped us reach over 10,000 views. We also have 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and also positive rating from the community we work with. With that, we have seen several drawbacks, and one of them is lack of them. Then also we have that we can have quite staff programming for us to only participate. So our programming is quite limited. Assistance only 50 programs which are written now. So we are thinking more about trying to expand our reach by finding solutions to the challenges. And one of the solutions we have is to start up Scientific Voters program, where we are able to train young people who can visit voters in sign language. So when you ask those reporters, they can be able to create stories in sign language and broadcast them to the audience. Another is having a mobile studio, where people can be able to access our studio and produce content in sign language. We also want to expand our program, make sure that we are able to provide programming for almost American, she said $2,000 US. 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕 fellowship. We also need to establish and increase the number of people who work with us. Because right now, we are only a small team of 5 people. We also want to expand our equipment and also just our television so that we can be able to broadcast in channels like USIKU, TUZO, and many others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Next up from your very own country is Hamasa. Imado, Salima, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel from Hamasa. There is a fundamental changes in media landscape in Tanzania and the world at large. And digital transformation is the first and foremost area of concern. Yet, in our society, we are still lagging behind. Data literacy, the accuracy of information, data literacy, the accuracy of technical tools and marketing research is one of the areas many small and medium community radio are suffering. So this makes us Hamasa come with something called the Hamasa analysis. Hamasa analysis is a cloud-based system tailored to the small and medium scale business, small and medium scale media to help them digitalize their entire business. So the Hamasa analysis focuses on 4 areas: performance analytics, finance, human resource, and content programming. The market size of media house in Tanzania is more than 500, but we choose to not keep the ball too far. Our attainable market size for currently is 200 media houses, those small and media sizes. We have succeeded to reach more than 60 media houses up to now. So during the program, we have succeeded to visit physical more than 25 media houses, more than 24 media houses. And during the program of developing the system, we have succeeded to train media information training like publishing on different platforms, fact checking more than 43 media houses. And our revenue model is to give free subscription, which is say like grace period for the 6 months. Media also will help to access human resource and finance for the 6 months, and then even the subscription. Ideally, is to have at least the first 50 media house to start with. Our short-term milestone is to reach other regions. So for the time being, we are succeed to reach only 10 regions. So it's to cover up all regions in Tanzania and to invite new partners. And the future is to look on how we can generate other sources of income out from this system. And that is the thing behind this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hamasa Media. A fun fact is they've already closed a few deals with some media houses across not only East Africa, but in Zambia. So they're making money already, which is amazing. Next on stage is Habari from WhatsApp. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕 from Tanzania, Rwanda, and this is Habari za mchana. Yeah, everybody speaks Tanzania, but it's sana. Okay, and just imagine you are seeing the dancing stone. I know many of you can think to yourselves and ask yourselves, how can the stone dance? It is possible and it is true. You can only find it in Africa, Tanzania, Mwanza, and Ukara. The stone dancing after receiving the permission from the owner. And tourism is one of the main ways in African countries to create and generate more income. Not only that, but it provides jobs to millions of people. The people you are seeing there are Africans in Paris. Instead of visiting their long tourism, instead of visiting the Mount Kilimanjaro, instead of visiting the dancing stone in Nyerere, they went outside to explore. So, as 𝒓𝒊𝒈𝒉𝒕, we conducted a research and 87% recommended a creative, inspired, and educatable story through film. Also, we created online pricing platform where everyone can see it and can select the package and go obviously where. Okay, with the help of DW and AKU, we managed to film 2 films, which is one called Tanzara, and which will show you the beauty of Red Victoria, and also Uje, which has 3 series, which also will show you different places that you can visit in Tanzania. Apart from that, after getting inspired from the movies that you're going to see, you go to the platform, or we can say it's a booth, where you get to book your safari to go visit the mother nature of beauty, Africa. We targeted youth aged from 25 to 40 years, the families, the organization, and the corporate. Our business model depends on tourism packages and also connection work and endorsements. As you're seeing our team, us as young and growing innovators, we're still growing, we are still working on our business, and we still want to grow. You can't grow alone, we want to grow with other people with us. So we're looking for partners who can partner with us, help us in this journey to help Africans tour Africa, because you can't go outside, you can't value somebody's thing if you can't value your own thing that you have at home. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can see us.
Thank you very much, ladies. Now we go back to Uganda, where we're going to meet Nana and Sarah from the Citizen Report. Nana and Sarah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nana, and this is my colleague Sarah, and we're from the Citizen Report, which is a Ugandan non-profit which is focused on building a civically engaged citizen. And we thought, what better way to do this than to create a game that is
Thank you very much, Nana. A fun fact is they are going to scale this also into a national competition. They're thinking about ensuring that kids can compete competitively. Now we go to Kenya, to a very remote part of Kenya called Budalangi, where we have Vyombo Media.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Monica, the Regional Communications Lead at Vyombo Media Solutions Limited, as it has become from Budalangi, Busia County, Kenya. I'm with Sherry Nakini, who is our lead researcher. Vyombo Media Solutions Limited is generally a company that advocates for change using media content. We got into the innovator in residence with the Aga Khan, and for this project, we based on creating content on HIV/AIDS that will align with our community. So allow me take you through a short scenario to take you to Budalangi. Budalangi is majorly a fishing community. That is the major economic activity that we indulge in. In Budalangi, getting fish is not as easy as taking your money, going to the beach, and you just buy it. There are other issues that you will encounter while wanting to buy fish. In Budalangi, mostly, bridge boat owners, or those people that own the boat that are supposed to sell fish to fishmongers, take advantage of them and sexually exploit them. So they will always ask for sexual favors for you to get fish. Remember, it's the only, or it's the major economic activity that happens in Budalangi. So a lot of people will always want to be in that business. Aside from that, we would attribute the high HIV prevalence rates currently experienced in Budalangi to the traditions and myths because of ignorance of our community. Poverty levels are also very high, and so this would make so many people, especially school-going girls, and even those in colleges, vulnerable to rich men or rich people around. So in the process, it contributes to the high HIV prevalence rates currently experienced in Budalangi. We also say, aside from ignorance, we have a section of people who haven't gone to school, and so you find that health content is mostly packaged in brochures that are hectic for the common person to get knowledge of what they're doing. This is why Vyombo Media Solutions Limited came in and sort of repackaged and simplified the health content into a language that our people would align to, or rather our people would understand. We produce plays using local artists and in a local language, which we then air in our social media platforms, but also majorly on radio, a community radio in Budalangi, which has a followership, or rather a listenership, of about 250,000 people. So by then we'll be reaching our people in language that they really do understand. Aside from having the interviews, we go to the market centers, we go to school institutions, we even go to the beaches where the fishmongers and the fish or boat owners are. We do live skits for them in an entertaining way, of course, which will hook them up and will get the information. And in the process, they will learn what maybe other stakeholders package in brochures that they wouldn't have known about. We also run very active social media platforms. For instance, we have a WhatsApp page where we have health experts and residents of Budalangi who willingly join. They always ask their questions and they are responded to by the experts there. So it's very likely. Aside from that, we also have a followership on Facebook where we air our content and people are able to engage us directly.
And we had this idea in the year 2020, and the year 2021, through the Aga Khan University, we won a grant, which enabled us to acquire an office space and also to produce content. So from last year, April, we produced 12 radio dramas and 24 expert interviews. We've also gotten into partnership with Black FM, which is a community radio station, and Upper Kenya, which provide us with the experts in our shows. And I believe